Hello everyone, this is Darkest Night speaking, and today I will be showing you how to create your own for the 3D maneuver gear. And before we get started, I want to say that every tiny bit of information in this video can also be found on our mods official wiki page. Same for the last video and same for any future tutorial videos we will make. So I strongly encourage you to check out the wiki. That being said, let's get right into it. So, if you want to create gas for your 3D maneuver gear, the very first thing you want to look out for are so-called ice burst stones. Ice burst stones generate in caves and caves only. They can also generate at the cave entrance, but for Minecraft, that's still inside the cave. They generate either randomly or on so-called ice burst veins. What are ice burst veins now? Well, ice burst veins are regular, or at first glance they might look like regular stone, but if you take a closer look you can see this bluish star symbol. And what makes ice burst veins special is that ice burst stone gradually grows on it. So if you find a few veins, you have a steady and infinite supply of ice burst stones. These veins can also only be found in caves. And something very important to note is if you try to move them with a piston, or if you destroy it, or if you destroy all the blocks around it or connected to it, the ice burst vein will explode, and it's not a weak explosion, so look out for that. But yeah, once you've got yourself some ice burst stones, you should be wary of this fact. And that is that if they are exposed to heat, or in Minecraft light sources, they will explode. So to elaborate a bit further on this, in Minecraft, heat is coded with light. So if you place a torch right beside an ice burst stone, or like even close to an ice burst stone, this will be a heat source. And after a random amount of time, the heat will lead the ice burst stone to burst. Ha 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 ha. Horrible pun, I know. And yeah, that little explosion isn't as rough as the one of the ice burst vein, but could still be annoying. Same thing goes for glowstone, lava, or even blocks, like other blocks that emit light. But yeah, you'll notice that ice burst stones will be close to explosion if you start hearing this hissing sound. On the other side, this hissing sound can be used to locate ice burst stones in caves, because sometimes they do generate close to some source of light. So, look out for that sound. Then, the next thing you should be aware of is that you can only mine ice burst stones with an iron pickaxe or better. If you do that, you can gain 1 to 3 ice burst shards. These shards are the very thing you actually want. The stones are just a way to get them. Just like ice burst stones, the shards will explode if you get too close to a light source. And the shards will explode much quicker than the stones, even if they are in your inventory. And I want to take this moment to quickly say, ice burst veins, however, won't explode if you expose them to heat. They really only will explode under the conditions I named earlier. How do you avoid that your ice burst shards explode? For that, you'll need to store them in a so-called ice burst canister. An ice burst canister can hold up to 10 ice burst stones, and it protects them from heat. Here's how you craft it. We'll get into a bit more detail about that later. Let me run you through how to put ice burst shards in the canister first though. There are two ways to get your shards into the canister. The first is you open your inventory, you take your ice burst shards, drag them across the ice burst canister and then click on it, and that will store them inside. The second option is you take your ice burst shards into your offhand, your canister in your main hand, then you just press right click and they are stored as well. They are stored as well. You can always press Ctrl or left shift on an ice burst canister to see how you use it and how many shards are already stored in it. But yeah, so something that will be important for crafting, especially crafting the gas cartridges later on, is the so-called 3D maneuver gear part workshop. You already need it for the ice burst canister. If you remember the crafting recipe, you saw these 6 plates. These can only be obtained in the 3D maneuver gear part workshop. This is how you craft the workshop. And once you've got it set up, once you've set it up, you will see this little holographic GUI, which is entirely controllable only using your mouse. And if you look around, you have different categories. It tells you what resources you need to create a certain item. And in order for these items to be registered by the part workshop, you'll need to take an empty hand, crouch, and then right click on the workshop. This will open up a little inventory, and there you can just put all the resources inside. Then if you go out of that inventory again, you will now see that that the resources are inside the workshop. It will tell you how much you have of a resource, and it will tell you which items you can or can't craft. And you'll need that for, as I said, the plates and several other items for different blocks or 3D maneuver gear parts. We'll cover this table and watch everything you can do with it a little bit more in depth in the 3D maneuver gear video, but for now this will suffice. But generally speaking, just check out the crafting recipes of the mod. I strongly suggest just enough items, and whenever you encounter an item that doesn't have a crafting recipe, it is most likely created in this part workshop. Then let us move on to the evaporator. The evaporator is a machine that you need to melt your ice burst stones, so to say, because this process will release the gas. It's also the reason why they explode when you expose them to heat. In the evaporator, you will create a controlled explosion that will also gather all the released gas. And to do that, you first need to craft it using this recipe. And once you've got your evaporator set up, you'll have to open it with crouch, right click, probably with an empty hand. And then you'll see that this little hatch opens. Now you right click on this open evaporator with an ice burst canister. You will see that your shards are now inside the evaporator. And then you close it again, once again crouching and right clicking it. I need to inform you, once your ice burst shards are inside the evaporator, you won't be able to take them out anymore. And if the evaporator gets destroyed, your shards are gone. Be mindful of that. Anyway, the evaporator can evaporate up to 32 shards at the same time. Or it can store 32 at the same time. They will be evaporated gradually over time. And you see this little tank on top of it. You can fill this tank with 33 shards. So here's a little math for those who are interested. One shard produces 30 millibuckets of gas, and the tank on top of the evaporator can hold 1000 millibuckets. Or also 1 bucket. Once that tank on top is full, no more ice burst shards will burst. It's kind of unrealistic, but it's something we had to do for gameplay. Now then, in order to use your gas you've created with the evaporator, you will need to transfer it to a gas tank. And for that you need the tank I just mentioned, as well as gas pipes. Here's how you craft the pipes. here's how you craft the tank. And you mount the pipes to the top of the evaporator and to the lower back of the tank. Then they will transfer about 16 millibuckets of gas per second, and the tank will be able to store 2000 millibuckets or 2 buckets at the same time. So if we break it down a little bit, you'll need around 66 shards to fill one gas tank. So you can, if you have 6 full iceberg canisters and then 1 additional canister with at least 6 shards, that is enough for one entire tank. Then once you have some gas in your tank, you will need to craft a cartridge, and this cartridge is what's necessary for your 3D maneuver gear, obviously. It can hold up to 200 millibuckets, meaning one tank can fuel around 10 cartridges. And in order to fill your cartridge, you'll just take it, aim at the tank, and then hold right click. You can even see this little valve on top of it, decreasing steadily, or increasing when you are filling it up. And then once your gas cartridge is full, you'll be ready to start creating your 3D maneuver gear. And before we end this video, I want to show you some setups or some example setups for your evaporator and tank. First of all, we have a pretty basic setting, which is really just you place them somewhere and connect them however you see fit. Then we have the, as a wiki author of us likes to call it, most efficient setup. It looks like this. It's called the most efficient because it only needs 1 gas pipe. You can even evolve this further and attach multiple tanks to this one evaporator. And of course it will take longer for each of them to be filled up. But the opposite of that would be this setup, where you attach multiple evaporators to 1 gas tank. This will lead to the gas tank filling up rather quickly. Generally speaking, you can build all kinds of things with your pipes. They will connect in any way you place them. Of course not diagonally, but that's the same for redstone. Then, I hope you found this information useful. And if you got any questions or suggestions for future videos, be sure to leave them in the comments. See you next time.